Al-Tawbah 9.123, O ye who believe, fight the unbelievers, kuffar, who are near to you, and let them find hardness in you. Muhammad 47.4, when you meet the unbelievers, kuffar, smite at their necks. When you have thoroughly subdued them, bind your captives firmly. Al-Ma'idah 5.51, O ye who believe, take not the Jews and Christians for your friends and protectors. They are but friends and protectors to each other. And he amongst you that turns to them for friendship is of them. Verily, Allah guideth not a people unjust. Since Jews and Christians, as well as any and all other unbelievers, cannot be accepted as friends or rulers of the followers of Muhammad, then the Muhammadans who live amongst us in our democracies are doing so under duress until such time as they become a majority or are able to overthrow our system and replace it with the Sharia law. This makes the followers of Muhammad sleeping, treacherous agents who are deliberately and knowingly using our democracies to undermine our way of life until they achieve their agenda of Islamizing us. And last but not least, the icing on the cake verse. Al-Imran 3.85. If anyone desires a religion other than Islam, submission to Allah, never will it be accepted of him. I can recite at least another 70 verses from the Quran and Hadith of similar theme, but I'm sure the above are enough to demonstrate the peace-loving, merciful, and compassionate characteristics of the Quran and Muhammadan Islam. Now, let us look at the fundamental reasons that turn the followers of Muhammad, especially the males, into hate-mongering, war-mongering, and racist creatures whose contorted and angry faces we watch with horror and disgust, filling our TV screens daily from almost every country in the world, whether it is Muhammadan or not. What I am about to share with you is not rocket science, nor does it need a psychologist to come to the same conclusions. All we need to do is use simple, everyday logic. The items that forbid the followers of Muhammad of enjoying a good and happy life on earth are found mostly in the hadiths of Muhammad's Sunnah, while the promises of eternal, carnal, and sensual pleasures for the jihadis dying in the process of slaughtering unarmed, so-called unbeliever civilians are found in hundreds upon hundreds of verses in the Quran. Between the promises of the Quran and the prohibitions of Muhammad's Sunnah, the fundamentalist male Muhammadan believers are turned into demonic killing machines, looking forward to die in the cause of their God Allah, to get their rewards in Muhammad's whorehouse version of paradise. Dear listeners, please be aware that no rewards are promised to the female believers of Muhammadan Islam in death, except maybe as playmates of the dead jihadists. Unfortunately for them, both the Quran and Hadith instruct the female followers of Muhammad to be groveling and obedient servants of their male masters, especially their husbands, who can beat them, forbid them from associating with others, to have sex with him whenever and however he wills, to cover their bodies as if they were genitals exciting other males, etc., etc. The Hadiths especially demonstrate Muhammad's contempt for the females of the human species, especially since he compares them to dogs and donkeys, and who are lacking in intelligence and spirituality. As we have demonstrated in other chapters of ours, the Quran forbids even the unmarried, consenting adult followers of Muhammad from having sex, upon pain of flogging that was overturned later by Muhammad's Sunnah into death by stoning. Muhammad forbade his followers of the following worldly pleasures: drinking wine, gambling, wearing gold, wearing silk, playing musical instruments, dancing, singing, painting and sculpting human or animal forms, poetry, playing chess, reading the scriptures of other belief systems, having any so-called unbelievers as friends or associates, etc., etc. Ladies and gentlemen, so-called believers and unbelievers, please ponder deeply and fairly for a few hours upon the above prohibitions and or promises if applied to any of you, and reflect upon what mental state you would have if applied during your lifetime as you are growing up into adulthood. Be honest with yourself. we have absolutely no doubt whatsoever how the human end product would behave. The absolute majority of the females of Muhammadan Islam grow up uneducated, oppressed, terrorized, beaten, humiliated and unloved creatures who pass their ignorance and twisted psychological profile to the next generation of males and females. As for the males, they grow up despising their female counterpart as inferiors to them, who must only follow their dictates. Again, there is neither love nor respect, since they see how their fathers and brothers treat the females and others. The chain reaction of twisted and contorted psychologies continues throughout the generations. Any humans undergoing such lack of joys and pleasures, being constantly under the threat of eternal damnation in Allah's hell if they break away from them, will produce unloving, unhappy, ignorant, indolent, oppressive, aggressive, hate-mongering, warmongering, and racist creatures. They are, after all, looking to escape the unhappiness and joylessness imposed upon them in real life on earth, and hence are anticipating their promised eternal, carnal, and sensual pleasures in an afterlife with the 72 virgin female companions. I believe that if any of us were to actually accept these promises and rewards as an irrefutable fact, many males amongst us would rather prefer to die than to live such an unhappy, miserable, and joyless life. Muhammad thus created the most diabolical weapon of war that could ever be conceived, the human suicide-killing machine. As we have shown in our chapters, his mostly illiterate, superstitious, and ignorant followers were eager and willing to die for his cause in expectation of his unsubstantiated and uncorroborated promised rewards, because they actually believed his claims to being the messenger of Allah. It should then be not a great surprise as to why the fundamentalist followers of Muhammad commit their atrocities with such a degree of pathological and depraved indifference to mercy or compassion in expectation of immense rewards in death.